And how do you look at General Munir's elevation after this?
See, the only army chief who went into a bunker during the operations, and the only army chief who elevated himself to a field marshal just to avoid the public scrutiny, and the only army chief during SCO meeting who was accompanying the head of the state. So much for the democracy, so much, only army chief to be called by American president for lunch.
ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೆ, ಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಸಿಂಧೂರದ ನಂತರ ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನದ ಹಣೆಬರಹ ಇಡೀ ಜಗತ್ತಿನ ಎದುರು ಬಯಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಇದೀಗ ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಸಿಂಧೂರದ ಹೆಸರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅನೇಕ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳು ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಪಬ್ಲಿಷ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ನಿವೃತ್ತ ಸೇನಾ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ KJS ಧಿಲ್ಲೋನ್ ಅವರು ಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಸಿಂಧೂರದ ಒಂದು ಶೀರ್ಷಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಪುಸ್ತಕವನ್ನು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನದ ಸೇನಾ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥ ಆಸಿಮ್ ಮುನೀರ್ ಅವರನ್ನು ಟೀಕಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈತ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಸಿಂಧೂರ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂಕರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡಗಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಆಸಿಮ್ ಮುನೀರ್ಗೆ ಧೈರ್ಯನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಈತ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯುದ್ಧ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಬಂಕರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡಗಿಕೊಂಡು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಹೆಸರಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಈತ ತಾನು ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾರ್ಷಲ್ ಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಏರಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಲೆಫ್ಟಿನೆಂಟಲ್ ಜನರಲ್ KJS ಧಿಲ್ಲೋನ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಕಾರ್ಯಾಚರಣೆಯ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂಕರ್ಗೆ ಹೋದಂತಹ ಒಬ್ಬ ಸೇನಾ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥ ಮತ್ತು ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕರ ಗಮನವನ್ನು ಸೆಳಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಇಷ್ಟ ಕಷ್ಟ ಯಾವುದನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಯದೆ ಆತನನ್ನು ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾರ್ಷಲ್ ಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಏರಿಸಿಕೊಂಡ, ತನ್ನನ್ನು ತಾನೇ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾರ್ಷಲ್ ಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಏರಿಸಿಕೊಂಡ ಏಕೈಕ ಸೇನಾ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಈ ಸೇನಾ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯವ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅಮೇರಿಕನ್ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು ಊಟಕ್ಕೆ ಕರೆದ ಏಕೈಕ ಸೇನಾ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥ. ಇನ್ನು ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನ ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಹಾಳಾಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನ ಭಾರತದ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಯುದ್ಧ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಕಾರಣಕರ್ತನಾದಂತಹ ಒಬ್ಬ ಸೇನಾ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನ ಇಲ್ಲಿಯ ತನಕ ಯಾವುದೇ ಯುದ್ಧದಲ್ಲಿ ಗೆಲ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಇವರು ಬರೆದಂತಹ ಪುಸ್ತಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಅಂದರೆ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮದಲ್ಲೂ ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಪ್ರಕಟವಾಗದ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ತಾನು ಪುಸ್ತಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಂಚಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಅಂತ ಇವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕದ ಹೆಸರು ಏನು ಅಂತ ಅಂದರೆ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಸಿಂಧೂರ್ ದಿ ಅನ್ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾಸ್ ಡೀಪ್ ಅಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್ ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಪುಸ್ತಕ. ಇದೊಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಅಂತಲೇ ಹೇಳಬಹುದು. ಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಸಿಂಧೂರದ ಒಂದು ಟಾಪಿಕನ್ನು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕವನ್ನು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನದ ಮಾನ ಮರ್ಯಾದೆಯನ್ನು ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ಜಗತ್ತಿನ ಎದುರು ತೆರೆದಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತಲೇ ಹೇಳಬಹುದು.
And how do you look at General Munir's elevation after this?
See, the only army chief who went into a bunker during the operations, and the only army chief who elevated himself to a field marshal just to avoid the public scrutiny, and the only army chief during SCO meeting who was accompanying the head of the state. So much for the democracy, so much, only army chief to be called by American president for lunch. So much for the democracy and so much for being a democratic country and supporting the democratic structures. So Pakistan Army is the only army in the world which has never won a war. The list which Pakistan by mistake put on the media of their people who were given posthumous awards on 14th of August, their Independence Day, 138 names. And suddenly they removed it now if 138 soldiers and officers have been given a gallantry award as Shaheed for this Operation Sindoor, that you can imagine if 138 are being honored with an award, how many would have been the actual casualties? How the integration of air defense. People saw on the TV screens, courtesy the media, how the drones and the missiles were intercepted. But what they did not know, the untold story, is how starting from Zu-23 gun or a Shilka or a L-70, going right up to SAM and MR-SAM and then going to S-400. How from the lowest air defense weapon to the highest air defense weapon, how they all were integrated. If you've seen in that Masjid Subhanallah in Bahawalpur, the weapon used perforated the roof, perforated the floor and then went into the basement and exploded.
अब आपको क्या लगता है कि क्या भारत का अराइवल हो गया अपने आप का, क्योंकि एक डिफरेंट स्टाइल रहा है बात करने का. इनफैक्ट कई लोग आपको कंपेयर करते हैं सनी देओल से. आप बुलेट वगैरह में आपके ट्वीट्स वगैरह देखे हैं, तो थोड़ा सा अगर आप अपनी हिंदी में और आर्मी वाले पार्लांस में बात बताएंगे.
वी हैव अराइव्ड, हम पहुंच चुके हैं अपने मुकाम पे, और उस मुकाम पे दुनिया हमारे को सिर्फ ऐसे ऊपर आंख उठाकर देखेगी, नीचे नहीं देखेगी. वो दिन गए. हम बातचीत से बात हल करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन बातचीत से बात अच्छे से हल हो जाती है अगर आपके हाथ में लठ हो तो वो जो लठ है वो बहुत जरूरी है.
तो लठ है भारत के हाथ में.
बिल्कुल, मिलिट्री माइट ने प्रूव किया ऑपरेशन सिंदूर में कि लठ है ही नहीं, तगड़ा लठ है, एंड आगे वो लठ और भी मजबूत होने वाला है.
General Dhillon, thank you for talking to ANI. Your book on Operation Sindoor has come now. Give us a brief about Operation Sindoor, which is mentioned in the book and which is not in public domain and area of interest for public here, please.
Thank you, Mr. Naveen, and good day to you and your viewers. Operation Sindoor, the untold story of India's deep strikes inside Pakistan, is the book which has just come out. And book covers the aspects which were not highlighted by the media during this 4-day war. It starts from partition, build up of the problem, going up to Pulwama, and then from Pulwama to Pahalgam, 2 milestones. And why Pulwama we could kill the terrorists within 100 hours, and why Pahalgam, Operation Mahadev, happened after so long. All those aspects have been covered. And then basically the book picks up from 22nd April 2025 when Pahalgam happened.
Can you give us some sense of that?
Yeah. So after that, when nation wanted to retaliate, nation wanted to take action as a response to Pahalgam. So a lot of synergy happened in those 15 days till on 6th of May night we went in. Lot of intelligence gathering happened, lot of intelligence corroboration happened. Selection of targets, how the targets, these 9 terror targets, how they were selected. There are a lot of details about that. What was the layout, the structure of the targets. And then once the targets are selected, the best weapon system, like if you've seen in that Masjid Subhanallah in Bahawalpur, the weapon used perforated the roof, perforated the floor, and then went into the basement and exploded. So that type of accurate intelligence gathering, then the weapon matching to the target, that happened. And there afterwards, the air defense. See, two nuclear powers came to war for the first time in the history. A 4-day war took place between 2 nuclear powers. Not a single soldier or a single tank or a single gun crossed the international boundary or a line of control. So this is a new phase of the warfare, which we are facing, which we are seeing, and so all these aspects have been covered. And how the integration of air defense, I laid a lot of stress on this because people saw on the TV screens, courtesy the media, how the drones and the missiles were intercepted. But what they did not know, the untold story, is how the starting from Zu-23 gun or a Shilka or a L-70 going right up to SAM and MR-SAM and then going to S-400. How from the lowest air defense weapon to the highest air defense weapon, how they all were integrated. Someone has to detect an enemy target, someone has to designate it, tell the weapon system to engage it and destroy it. So this whole network, how it got integrated, some vintage weapons, some old weapon systems, some newest technology. So that is what has been explained in detail. In addition, the line of control. A lot of media coverage happened on the international boundary, whatever happened. Line of control, media somehow did not cover very well, but very hard fought skirmishes or intense battles happened on the line of control.
Okay, they were little underreported, right?
They were little underreported because of the far-flung areas, because of the remoteness of the area, because of the coverage and the number of people who wanted to cover it, away from the roadheads. So that complete chapter on the line of control is absolutely the untold story. And then comes who won, who lost, who called the ceasefire.
So who won actually?
So read the book.
Give us some sense of your
who
book.
won, who lost is, I'll give you an analogy of like a lot of people, narrative building happened before who won, who lost, as to 6-0 and this and that, how many aircrafts lost. That narrative was built somewhere else. Now we are a cricket-loving country. When we go to war, the losses will happen. We are not going to a 5-star for a dinner. We will have the losses, both sides will have the losses. Second World War, both sides had the losses, but who won? In a 50-over match, team playing first scores 250 runs, both openers score a century and no wicket lost. Team playing second scores 251 runs with loss of 9 wickets. No one scores even 50. Who won? It's the end game, it's the finish line which decides who won. On 10th of May, when we struck 11 air bases with impunity, with perfection and with precision, not a single missile of ours could be intercepted by Pakistani air defense. That is victory. when not a single aircraft of Pakistan Air Force could fly out and intercept our projectiles, that is victory. When Pakistan at 3:35 on 10th of May, their DGMO calls up our DGMO and requests, literally begging for a ceasefire, now that is victory. When they go running to America or to Saudi Arabia asking for mediation and ceasefire, now that is victory. When we say that we don't want a third-party mediation as a policy, it's a bilateral issue, we will resolve it bilaterally, because historically we have been doing that, that is victory. Now there are various parameters which have been defined. Then comes the battle of narratives. You know, लड़ाई यहाँ पे चल रही है, India Pakistan border पे, narrative building कहीं और हो रही है. Because if India is declared a winner, that means Indian weapon systems, Russian weapon systems, French weapon systems are better than Chinese, Turkish or Western bloc weapon system. The third world countries who are the net buyers of the defense equipment, all the orders will come to this bloc. So यहाँ
this
पे
is also another game which was played.
Yeah, यहाँ पे कौन जीता कौन हारा होगा जरूरी नहीं है, लेकिन वो जो weapons lobby है, they are setting a narrative as to who lost how many aircrafts. So that is where the game was being played somewhere else. So narratives have been shattered. I've devoted one full chapter on the battle of narratives. So this is
this book even more interesting.
Yeah, this is just one example I'm giving. And then, you know, calling of the book is, second point is, book is as updated as up to 18th of August.
Okay.
The list which Pakistan by mistake put on the media of their people who were given posthumous awards on 14th of August, their Independence Day, 138 names, that is part of the book. And suddenly they removed it when they, now if 138 soldiers and officers have been given a gallantry award as Shaheed for this Operation Sindoor, that you can imagine if 138 are being honored with an award, how many would have been the actual casualties? This decides who won. So there is enough in the book for a reader to understand who won, who lost.
Dhillon sir, what has changed? You have served in army for so long. What has changed? You saw the integration. So this CDS system has worked for the first time, which is, I think, in action, if we can say that. And also, sir, the modernization. Has it made an impact this time? Plus, as there is, now it is almost confirmed that our aircrafts have also fallen. Do you think there's also a lesson to learn from here?
Thank you for asking this question. First of all, see, nothing remains stagnant or constant in this world. Change is the only constant. So is the warfare. So is the technology. And today's warfare has so much enmeshment of the technology that small technological advancement has its impact on the war fighting. And India being a democracy, we being a country with 140 crore people, our priorities are also there. So we cannot afford to put everything in the defense. At the same time, the only country in the world with 2 nuclear neighbors and not, both of them are not our friends. We need to make sure our borders are secure. So there's a very fine balance. And when the technological advancement happens, the weapon systems which have to be procured or inducted, they are very expensive. So point here is, if you have such expensive weapon systems, then your operational art or art of war demands that nothing should be left out of battle. When nothing should be left out of battle, that means everything should be so synchronized, so integrated, that every weapon system, every soldier, everything counts towards the outcome.